What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Red Beard's Garage, and today we're finally going to get to ride the 999cc go-kart.
It's false. No way. Not this time.
What an idiot!
So we have a lot of little things to get done. We have to do brakes, so that means mounting a brake caliper on our swing arm, also mounting up the pedals. We got to get the rest of the steering set up done and do fuel, little wiring harness, stuff like that. A lot of little things to do, so let's get it done so we can finally feel the power of that 999cc Haas. One big problem is where this steering shaft is. You can see it's a really crude steering setup. We're going to leave that for right now because we want to ride this thing really bad. So one thing is we're going to make new links. You can see how much wobbleness is in all this, so we're going to tighten this up, make all new tie rods if they need them. It could just be loose bolts and stuff, but one thing we have to do is cut this off from here and weld it on this side because our brake pedal assembly needs to go right there. So that's the first thing we're going to do, cut that, weld it over there, and start mounting our pedals. So on my shelf I had this motorcycle brake. Not sure what it's off of. I think a Suzuki, but I machined up a little spacer that is threaded to 10-125, and what I'm going to do is slide this caliper on the back side of this Go Power Sports rotor, and then I can weld this little stub I made to this, and then I can make the ears for down here to bolt this up. The only thing when you're mounting the brake, you need to set your depth right and gap it correctly, because if you don't have it gapped right, your rotor is going to get into the caliper. Okay, so we was going to run the dual 420 sprockets on this setup because I was worried about the torque and for the small size of 420 chain. The only problem is when you line up the keyways, these sprockets are offset. We've tried everything. We've tried rotating it on the hub to try to make them line up. They just don't line up. So the keyway was machined different, you know, in a different spot on both. So we can't do that because it's just going to be too hard having the same length of chain, making sure both the sprocket here and the one that's going to be on the jack shaft is clocked the same. So we're going to step up to 50 chain. 50 chain is quite a bit bigger than 420. You can see the size difference there. It's about double the size pretty much. So I went down to the local Tractor Supply and we got this hub. And this is a 18 tooth. We have a 14 tooth, and then I had this one from Go Power Sports on the shelf. This came on a 150 go-kart. I think it's a 31 tooth. Then we had a 48 tooth. So this is going to be on the axle. These two are going to be on the jack shaft, and this will be on the CVT jack shaft. So what we're going to do is build a setup where the jack shaft is here for the CVT. It's going to run up to a sprocket here that's going to kick over and have a sprocket on that side that runs down to the axle. It's the only way to run this big of a chain and get a 6-to-1 gearing ratio so we can have a ton of torque. 6-to-1 should be a really good setup on this with the horsepower we're running. So that was the only way to get it, is to make a jack shaft. So now I got a TIG weld all these sprockets. I got them cleaned up. I had to machine this hub down and make a step down so this sprocket sets on it really like it's machined real close, real tight, so I can TIG weld it. So I gotta do these 3 sprockets, and then I gotta make a hub for the axle for this to bolt on. So let's get to it. So I made this jack shaft out of 2 Go Power Sports 1-inch bearings and a piece of scrap axle I had, and basically welded 2 pieces of 3/16 angle iron together, and we got this little jack shaft set up. So I was going to make this where it adjusts forward and back so I could tension the chain from this jack shaft to the axle. So instead of making this tension, because that would be a headache having the tension, so I'd have to tension the jack shaft to the axle, then I'd have to tension this CVT jack shaft to this jack shaft. So what I'm going to do is weld this solid onto the chassis. I got to make sure I get it clocked correctly. And I'm going to build a chain tensioner for the output from the jack shaft to the axle. So I was machining up all this jazz, and I haven't cut this one to length yet, but this is the way this is going to work. Why I have so many washers on this is because this bolt isn't threaded all the way, and I have no other 3/8 fine threads. But if we tighten that up, we still have, it'll move because I left just a fuzz of a lip. Then we can take this 50 bearing sprocket, its sleeves on there, and then we can tighten this one down. Okay, so now we have a chain tensioner that's movable. What camera do I look at? So what I'm going to do is cut this to length and weld this stub to the swing arm, and then this will give us a chain tensioner. Then I can put a spring set up like a gas pedal would have on a go-kart that always pushes down on this. Okay, surely that'll hold. I'm just trying to make sure alignment is good. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Now our spring will be able to hook but not slide off. Probably need to do this same thing to this, because this is where the spring tensioner will slide on down there. I could cut a groove in this with the lathe before I welded it, but didn't. So sue me. Take me to court and sue me. Don't.
Please don't.
It's not quite, it's enough, but it ain't under any kind of pressure up there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Nowhere.
No, it's that is a solid. All right, so we got this steering all connected. This is the piece you saw me make in the last video. This is a Go Power Sports steering arm that we cut in half, and this is 1-inch gas pipe. You can get it at Home Depot or anything, and it actually sleeves over Go Power Sports steering arm, so you can extend it. We've drilled some plug weld holes. We're going to weld it around here, and we got that all in there. Then we took another steering wheel adapter, cut the disc off, and we've machined it down so it sleeves in there and get a nice weld in there. So we need to weld all this up and then weld some gussets on that little tab, and then our steering is done. So we also got the engine all mounted up, CVT's on, everything is tensioned up. Now we're not going to get all the belt travel out of this because we don't have enough RPMs to do so. This is governed at 4,000 RPMs. This engages at 1,700, so we have 2,300 of actual driving RPMs. So this belt's not going to travel all the way to the top as of right now. The chain tensioner is done. We had to cut some links out of that spring to make it work, but now we have a nice beefy chain tension, so we shouldn't have to worry about, you know, any kind of chain slack. So we're going to put the swing arm onto the go-kart and finish the steering and get the brake pedal mounted. Feel good? Yeah. So we started getting ready to build the exhaust on this hog, and we found out, because when I mounted that battery box, we didn't know we was going to have the engine riser. So now that corner of the battery box is going to get into the CVT pulley, and also we didn't have enough room to run our exhaust because our engine is up 2 more inches and it is also close to the battery. So unfortunately, we're going to have to cut the battery box off and move it beside the driver's seat before we can do the exhaust. And then all we have left to do is run the brake lines, just hook the throttle up. We got the whole throttle pedal installed, and then we'll be riding this. Yeah, plumb the gas. It's just a bunch of little things. So guys, we tried our best to make this the ride video, but unfortunately we didn't know about the jack shaft. We didn't know about the engine riser. So that added a ton of work to the list that we thought we was so close to achieving. So we're really close. I promise you guys, the next video you see on this, we will be riding it, driving it under its own power. So I'm super pumped. We got that jack shaft figured out. Everything seems to look like it's going to be ultra beefy and hold up. So make sure to check out the links in the video's description where you can find everything that we use in this video series. Helps us out to continue to do these videos and keep bringing you guys a crispy gravy bones content. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know what you think of the build so far, the stuff we did in this video. Do you think the jack shaft is going to hold up, the chain tensioner and stuff? So let us know. We want to hear what your thoughts are. We love you guys, and God bless.